Americans Ashley Wagner and Adam Rippon were surprised by Eteri Tutberidze's arrival at the 2023 World Cup. Unthinkable. Eteri Tutberidze, sitting in the kiss-and-go area, even though she is with athletes from other countries. Isn't she a Russian citizen? How could the ISU allow that? I was completely shocked when I saw it, Wagner said. Yes, there were other coaches, but after all, it is Eteri who is still at the center of the scandal now. There are so many questions for her personally and for her staff. In fact, we are having this conversation because of her desire to be the #1 coach in the world, to be famous, but not by the most correct methods. And yet she comes to the competition, waving her curls proudly. Meanwhile, her skaters sit at home, suspended from competition. How is that fair? Rippon added. Ashley Wagner advocated for stiffer penalties for doping. Wagner and Adam Rippon discussed doping cases in Russian figure skating on the Run-Through podcast. I'm convinced, the only adequate punishment in this situation is a full ban. Would you say that's unfair to the athletes? No. You know what is not fair to the athletes? Taking advantage of their physical fitness and endurance to benefit the system. And it won't stop as long as it benefits someone. So I see only one way out. If in the future even one athlete is caught doping, then the entire country will be banned from the next Olympics. Because otherwise it turns out that everyone must play by the rules, except them. And instead of oops, we got caught, we have to stop doing it, we got caught, we have to act more cunningly from now on, said the 2016 World Cup silver medalist. American Ashley Wagner thinks Russian figure skaters are being used to win medals. I can tell you a lot about the physical development of girls. There's an obvious fact, puberty ruins the jumps, it's inevitable. Because it's one thing to twist your jumps and look like a thin twig at the same time. Of course, it's a different twist in a child's body. And it's another thing when you get breasts and hips in puberty, your body proportions change, and your jumping technique changes. So one way to push back the advent of puberty is to train until you're blue in the face. Then the body will understand that it cannot go through serious physical or hormonal changes. And then you'll be frozen in a prepubescent body for a long time. It's just scary to watch. These girls look exactly the same at 13 and 17. And they jump and train just the same. It's not normal. Their bodies are under tremendous pressure and stress. And that's why they disappear from sight just as quickly, right at the end of a single Olympic cycle. Moreover, I am sure that no one explains to them what processes are happening to them and what awaits them in the future. That's why for me it's not a question of individual skaters and their decisions, I think the system puts them in such conditions. The country needs results, medals and records. Our athletes are the strongest, the fastest and the most enduring. And figure skaters in this case are just a means to an end. And when the last drop is squeezed out of them, they will be discarded as unnecessary, Wagner said on the Run-Through podcast. Anton Abdurakhmanov, president of the Moscow Figure Skating Federation, announced that coach Alexei Vasilevsky and his assistant and wife Yulia Lavrenchuk were leaving the figure skating army club. Vasilevsky and Lavrenchuk are former coaches at the academy of two-time Olympic champion Yevgeny Plushenko. They left her in 2018 because of complaints from parents and a video of Lavrenchuk beating his daughter, a student at the academy. At the same time, Abdurakhmanov noted that the departure of specialists from the Army of Figure Skating is not connected with complaints about hand-to-hand violence. No, I cannot confirm this information, the reason there is different. As for the information about the abuse of children by parents and coaches, about which there has been a lot of information recently, we are closely following what is happening, and at the next executive committee the issue will be raised at the level of the disciplinary commission of the FFKM, TASS quoted Abdurakhmanov as saying. Two-time Olympic champion, three-time world champion in figure skating Yevgeny Plushenko responded to the emerging information that in 2018 in his coaching academy Angela Plushenko was recorded the fact of abuse of a figure skater by coach Yulia Lavrenchuk. After its disclosure, Plushenko fired the specialist and her husband, coach Alexei Vasilevsky, who concealed incidents of violence. Unfortunately, 5 years ago there was such a fact. As soon as I found out, there was a big proceeding inside the school. Dozens of parents came complaining about Lovrenchuk. As far as I know, she didn't keep her word. She took a job at another school with her husband, from which, as I know, they were also kicked out the other day. Plushenko's words were quoted by the Dnipro Man Telegram channel. A video appeared on the network, which captures the facts of abuse by coach Yulia Lovrenchuk in relation to the young figure skater, her own daughter Emily Chesterton, a citizen of Austria. Lovrenchuk, with a belt in her hands, repeatedly hits the skater and also drops her on the ice. The video was filmed in 2018 from Plushenko's Angels surveillance cameras by concerned parents of other students. According to the Elena Rudina Telegram channel, Lovrenchuk was immediately removed from her position, as was her spouse, also at the time the coach of Plushenko's Angels, Alexei Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky allegedly knew, but concealed the facts of violence on the part of Lovrenchuk, who worked in the role of his assistant. Music producer and entrepreneur Yana Rukhovskaya, who is the wife of two-time Olympic champion Yevgeny Plushenko, commented on the information that in 2018 in the academy of her husband Angela Plushenko was recorded the fact of hand-to-hand abuse of the figure skater by coach Yulia Lovrenchuk. After that, Lovrenchuk worked at the Army of Figure Skating Club in Moscow, but recently left it. Yes, it was like that from start to finish. Training in big sports is always old school, carrot and stick. It's a hard road that lazy people can't take, and when it comes to ice, it doesn't forgive mistakes. But what does stick mean to a coach? It's getting kicked out of practice. It's to make you run cross-country. It's to make you do push-ups. But raising your hand? It's hitting a 5-year-old kid who's standing on skates and trying to get away from you? That's something beyond. Something unthinkable. I remember when my husband picked up the cameras at my parents' request. We kicked her out immediately, in a second, with a wolf ticket. She was out on the street, and then her husband Alexei Vasilevsky. And we consulted with the parents, we planned to get custody involved. This coach Lovrenchuk promised everyone that she would leave. She swore and swore she would never practice coaching again, because obviously it was not good for her. She begged and cried. So 5 years went by and what do we see now? After being kicked out of another decent school, both he and she are quietly working with children. They find a new place. They're still recruiting groups of people. Unthinkable. I couldn't believe my eyes, I swear. We didn't break her life. With parental consent, we gave her a second chance. But she didn't take that chance. And what parent, if they knew about it, would have given their daughter to a coach like that? I hope this information reaches moms and dads. Everyone has been talking about how the girl Miroslava is treated by her father at Krystalny and he throws her on the floor. This is unacceptable, and beating a child on the ice is completely monstrous. And it is important to raise such topics, because sport is a hard way, but it does not mean that such cruel people should work there, Rukhovskaya wrote in her social networks.